Hi everyone. Hopefully we've still got some people with us and there's still some people joining us this evening. We've had some major technical issues, unfortunately. Obviously can't rely on Zoom. But thank you if you have managed to stay with us. So obviously I'm Alice from Transition Partners. Thanks for taking the time to join us on Business Analysis. Let's stay connected. I have Tammy Kennedy who will be speaking. And Kristy, who you can't see, but she is there, and we'll be talking through working remotely and how to work collaboratively whilst you're alone. Obviously, know things are a bit difficult at the moment, so we just wanted to sort of tune in and see how we can help. So I will be asking questions throughout the webinar, so feel free to answer any of those. They are in the bottom panel, so you've got Q&A and chat. Feel free to put anything in there. I'll be keeping an eye on those two areas. And we now have Kristy with us by video, so everything seems to be working. So enjoy. I'll pass it over to Tammy and Kristy.
Thanks, Alice. Yeah, thanks for bearing with us, guys. Like I said, I'm sure that will become apparent as we go through this as to all the other fun that this can be with remote working, and one of those is definitely the tools that we have to use. So we're going to put it into 3 sections today. Don't worry, it's not going to be death by PowerPoint. There'll be a section for remote working, one for collaborating alone, and then a last section around some of the positives that hopefully we can all take from this. So as we go through them at the end of each section, like I said, if you want to raise those Q&As, that would be great. Alice will look through them for us to make sure we get the right ones at the end of each section. If you see someone else has already asked a question that you also want to know, you can upvote them. So if you click on that, we'll know the ones that are affecting most people, and that would be really good. So without much more ado, we'll get started. And the first bit is about remote working. So Kristy, I don't know if you want to start this one.
Yeah, can do, Tammy, thank you. So there's been a lot of information out there about remote working and how to make the best of the current situation that we're in. So we just put together some tips really to share. First one being about the fresh air and natural light. So where you can probably see on Tammy and I's screens at the moment on the video, we've both got a room we can sit in that's got natural light that comes in. And with the weather being as it has been over the past few weeks, that's probably helped kind of lift everybody's spirits to keep us all going in the daytime hours. Think about just taking a break outside, opening the front door, back door, taking a step outside with your cup of tea, just to again take advantage of that natural light. Or if you're in an apartment or a different type of abode, opening that window and letting some of that fresh air in.
So one of the other things we've found being really useful is about setting routine. We might not be in the office anymore, but obviously there's still routine to your day, and trying to keep some of that actually really helps. Keeps you motivated, but also gives you some purpose throughout the day. One thing we've stressed to people at our place is take regular breaks. You can't be expected to sit in front of your computer for 7-8 hours a day. It's just not natural. You wouldn't do it if you were sat in the office, so why do it because your office is now at home? So even if it's just get up and have a little walk around, have a chat with other people that you know, please do that. And one of the other things is be more conscious of lunchtime and having time for that. It's far too easy to feel that you have to answer everything immediately when you're at home because of that fear of, working from home. It's not like that. You wouldn't do it if you were at your office. So treat this as if you were there, answer things at the right time, but make sure you have lunch and take it away from your computer so you're not looking at it. Your eyes need that break, and so does your brain. And at the end of the day, log off, switch off, pack it away, do whatever you need to do, but shut a door and walk away. And we find mentally this really, really helps people to know the difference between the end of a work day and then the start of your home time, as soon as you don't have that commute.
Lovely. Okay, and then taking care of yourself. So there's a lot of information clearly from the NHS and being pushed out by the government about washing your hands, and it's the amount of times we've probably all sung happy birthday to ourselves and various pets or other people that have been in the home with you, and then the general thing, eating your veggies, getting some sleep, and the sleep element, I'm sure a lot of us are really struggling with at the moment. For some reason, my sleep seems to disappear at the weekend. Through the week, it's not so bad, but I was up at 5:30 on Sunday morning just because, for whatever reason, it got to the point where I was like, no, you don't need to sleep anymore, you need to get up. So do take your sleep opportunities where you can, because good quality sleep, we process a lot while we are dreaming and not in the conscious realm for those few hours at night time. So give that a go. And putting pressure on yourself, I'm sure again we're all probably guilty of this, in terms of I need to be present, I need to get things done, I need to homeschool my children to the best of my ability, I need to learn a new skill and be able to do lots of yoga and touch my toes by the end of lockdown. It's just take the pressure off. Every day you get up and you continue, you're doing the best that you can do. So do take that pressure off yourselves, and it is easier said than done. A bit like the getting enough sleep. Take the pressure off, because you're doing the best that you can.
Oh. And one of the other ones as well then is looking at your rituals and what support you have around you as well. I mean, I'm fortunate in my house, I have a dedicated office, so I know that this is workspace, this is where I'm through the day. And when I'm done, I can close the door and walk away from it and not come back till the day after. I know not everyone else has that luxury, so if you live in a flat, it can be a little bit more tricky. But just try and find some dedicated space that you can use that is where you know you will be working. It's a whole mental mind shift and just helps you realise the difference between your work time and your home time, especially when they're in the same space. And also, like, manage your day a little bit and plan ahead. So, planning breaks, and it can be things like, if you know that your local supermarket is quiet at 11 in the morning and you've nothing on, we said to our teams, go then. Don't put, like Kristy said then, don't put pressure on. If that is a better time for you to be out of the house and go for a walk with the family, don't be so restrictive about timelines. Obviously, some of this is based on your employer as well. We're very lucky that, they see this the same way we do. But it's all about looking after yourself and your mental health too. So building in those rituals really helps. And one of the other things that, people do have more people around. Kids, cats, dogs, whomever. It's not a natural space to be. So, if you do have something that's quite key and an important meeting or something where, you really can't be disturbed, let the people around you know. They're not psychic, seriously. So, we just say, right, between 11 and 12, actually, guys, could you maybe go out for a walk or just be in a different space, because I've really got to focus on this call or this piece of work. And I think if you're upfront and honest with each other, that's the best way that we'll all get through this. And one of the other ones is online support for any computing issues. We found that most places we deal with have really good online chat facilities. So try using them, because they are very different, and it means you can still carry on maybe with some of your other tasks and you're not just sat hanging on a phone. But it's about looking around and seeing what support is there where you would normally just walk up to somebody and ask, see if there's another way to do it. Is there instant messenger? Is there online chat? What options do you have? And just give it a go. So we'll give it a pause there, because that was our top tips for home working. Alice, do we have any questions?
We do. So I don't know if you want to send in a couple more questions as well, because I know we've had some through already, but I don't know whether they'll probably fit in maybe slightly better with the collaborative working section we're going to be talking about.
We're happy to answer them now, and then if it comes again, we just cover a bit more.
So Rika asked, she said the role of a business analyst is more interactive and involves a lot of communication with the customer or the stakeholders. Extensive video conferencing and screen time is bound to have an impact on employees. How can we manage that whilst working from home?
I think it's a really good question. So like I said, by nature, business analysts, we are more collaborative. We do like being around people. We like those workshops or, getting the right stakeholders together at the right space. So yes, we will cover some of the collaborative of how we can do that when we're remotely, but you're right, it does take a toll on your eyesight, on your posture, because it's not natural in a workshop. You can get up and walk around. So part of it's back to kind of things we've been talking about there is, don't be afraid to stand up in the middle of a call if you need to. this is what you do if you were in the room. So do that. Have a little walk around. People can still see you. You're still being you. Make sure you do give your eyes breaks. I don't know about you guys, I'm a contact lens wearer. And I do find if I stare for far too long, I get very dry and very blinky. And that's not good for anybody. So yeah, that would be my top tips. What about you, Kristy?
Putting a slightly different spin on it in terms of, you know, when you break up a workshop, just make sure you do continue to do that in a remote fashion. You know, but you can pause meetings, you can come back to them when you're ready. And in terms of that walking around, if you are using something like Teams and you've put a background in, just be aware of how far away you go from the screen, because you might disappear into whatever you've put on screen. So keep that in mind. And yeah, I think everybody's just working in different rooms and different positions. So we had a very light-hearted post put out on our internal comms place about using an ironing board as a stand-up sit-down desk. As random as that may sound, it's just another thing to think about. Utilize whatever you can in the home to make your workspace more comfortable.
Yeah, I actually spoke to somebody earlier and they said something similar to me. So they were talking about how they host a lot of events, and they said somebody's just said, please don't do head and shoulders, stand up. We want to see you moving your hands. We want to see you talking. And I think that for me, I really like that sort of different perspective and just doing something a little differently. So we've got another question here. Through Holly. She said, as a BA, we're involved in facilitating lots of sessions with the team members and stakeholders. How do you do this with the current situation? Are there any specific tools we can use to help this? Slightly touching on the last question, but we have had another question about tools that we can use to bring people together more collaboratively other than Miro.
Okay. Yeah, so should we carry those into the next week? So we don't touch on tools, what we've got, but we can definitely add that in to the end and make sure we address it there.
Cool. So I've got another question for this round. Noel asked, video calling etiquette, how to engage via the new medium, which I think has been a big thing for people, is can I still wear my pajamas? Do I need to dress up?
I think it's a very valid question. I mean, I would say it depends on what the video call is. I mean, if it's with just some of your teammates and, you know, people, oh, I don't want to put my camera on, my hair's a bit of a mess today. It's like, well, don't worry about it. Come on, put it on. We'd rather see your face. Come on, it's a bit nicer. Obviously, in that more of a relaxed atmosphere. To be fair, I wouldn't be overly upset if somebody was in their PJs. If they were in their bed in the PJs, that might be slightly different. I think, you know, you should at least be in some kind of workspace or your living room. But yeah, as for, you know, people that have perfect makeup, they don't have their hair done, they're not, you know, wearing a shirt and tie, you wouldn't normally come, so that's fine. If it's a more corporate meeting, I think that's a little bit different. You know, we play by the same rules as we would in the office, really. It's like, you know, dress appropriately for where you are. I saw a thing the other day and someone complained that someone was in a tank top on a meeting, and I thought, well, I think that's a little bit too strict. You know, if it's just a team meeting and you're all together and you all know each other, I wouldn't expect my guys to sit there. Well, I don't expect them to sit there any day in a shirt and tie, to be honest. We're not that kind of place, but I definitely wouldn't in this situation. I think we have to be flexible, and you've got to be realising people need to be comfortable in what they're doing. And if that helps them to wear a t-shirt, then is that really the end of the world?
Yeah, and just remembering that the quality of your webcam streaming, you know, it's not high def. You're not beaming yourself in 4K. So, you know, that thing, we're all human. We've all got, you know, shiny noses by the end of the day, or that could just be me. But, you know, the more you have your camera on, the more value you'll get out of your interactions, in my opinion. You know, when we were so used to picking up the phone to speak to family and friends, but now we're doing video calling with them as well. You get more used, the more you do it, the more you get used to it, and the less you worry, because, you know, everybody's just being themselves a bit more, and it's just, everything's a bit more real, which again is that people element that's got to come from a silver lining that we'll come to at the end.
Yeah. Paul's asked, which I guess is quite similar to this, what your opinion on sort of forcing people to use their webcams are during a Zoom or meeting.
I think it's interesting. I think it depends on how you approach it. I mean, I don't think you can ever force anybody to do something. I think that really would be detrimental. I don't think you'd get the best out of somebody if they were really very reticent to put their camera on. Then by forcing them, what do you think you're actually going to achieve? They're not going to be part of your meeting, your workshop, then they're going to feel uncomfortable. You won't make somebody in, you know, the reality of a on-site meeting, you won't make somebody do something they were really uncomfortable with. But I think, you know, by setting out up front why you think it's important and what you're hoping to get from it, then that's a different thing. If people still choose not to do it, you can't make them. And we've had it, and you know, again, it depends who you know. If it's people I know, like, oh, where's your face? I can't see your face today. And they're like, oh, yeah, sorry. And some people genuinely forget that it's not on. Certain tools do remember the last settings that you signed off with. But yeah, I personally would never make somebody do it. I might chat to them afterwards and ask why they were so reticent and kind of how it was maybe not the best for the meeting, but I would never make somebody do it.
Yeah, so sort of judging the situation, the context of the call and taking it from there.
Yeah. And it's like looking back at what we're doing. Would you make somebody do something in a workshop and expect a good result out of it? There's a difference between gently encouraging, maybe pushing people a little bit, but as enforcing, I think that's definitely a step too far.
Great, cool. I think a lot of the other questions that have been asked will probably...
For the next bit.
Yeah. So we'll move on to collaborative working.
There we go. So hopefully you guys can see that. So yeah, so this is collaborating on your own. Like, you know, we touched on just a few minutes ago. By nature, we are sociable people. We like being in a room full of people. You can do different things. So some of this is making the most of your tools, which seems a little ironic after the trouble we've had at the beginning of this today to get this tool to work. But it just goes to show, you know, firstly, stay with things, firefight, look at them, see what's working. And then obviously after this, we'll have a look and see what maybe caused some of our issues that we had so we don't suffer it next time. But be honest with people. You know, if you've had trouble with something or you're struggling to use something because it's new, I mean, there is an awful lot of companies I know have got things like Microsoft Teams or Zoom in within the shortest ever period you've seen because of this lockdown. So they're not going to be perfect. They're not going to be right first time. But make that use of them. You know, the messaging is really great for reaching out to people, asking something, but without expecting an immediate answer. I think because it's called instant messaging, people expect that immediate response, and that's not the case. I mean, we're Slack users, so for us, if you're away from your desk, it's making sure on your tools that you've said that, you've highlighted to people. You know, got people putting pictures of like their dogs up, saying, oh, I'm out for a walk for an hour, or a little slice of pizza because saying I'm on lunch. People are aware, then they don't expect you to be sat there 8 hours straight and answering everything immediately. And if they do, maybe I'll chat with them because that's not fair. But I think, yeah, video calling has definitely been great. Obviously, we've seen some issues, and I don't just mean today, but generally with bandwidth, the amount of people who are doing this. But I think we've also seen those product people respond to that and shore up their technology so it does work better for more people across the working hours of the day. So yeah, definitely anyone who's got any good tools they would share, please do, because I think we're all looking for the best way to stay in touch with everybody. So I would say make the most of your tools and stay in touch with those people that can help you do that. Over to you, Kristy.
Okay. So again, just coming back to that personalized element of, you know, when we're working from home as we are at the moment, we're inviting, you know, anybody that we're having a call with basically into our homes, and life is going to continue on behind you, or in front of you, wherever you are, in the home. You know, the amount of times that my cat Pinball has appeared on calls, various different angles, some more pleasant than others, and you know, you just got to roll with it. You know, I was apologizing at the beginning, and now I've got to the point of it's just the cat, you know, and you go with it. So, you know, don't be embarrassed basically about what's going on. in your home. If you are with other people, you know, life's going to continue for them as well, and you're working together to get through the day. But also think about the, you know, there's the element of not bumping into somebody in the office and having a chat. So how do you bring that in back into your working day? The amount of you know, virtual cuppers that get put in the diary, you know, have a chat and a cup of tea and a biscuit just with your team or with somebody that you would you know, maybe not necessarily work with on a day-to-day basis, but you see them in the office. So maybe drop them a message and just say hi, how you doing, make that connection. And then if you are working with people you've not yet met face to face, so this is a different one. From my own working life at the moment, I've recently moved squads, and I'm working with the majority of people I haven't actually met face to face before. But it's about being, you know, genuine and authentic. Again, with the cat coming in, and just kind of finding a way to build that relationship virtually, because you don't have the opportunity when you're walking in and out of a meeting room, for example, to say, oh, how was your evening? So take note of the smaller personal details. You know, if they share, oh, sorry, you know, the dog Jeff is just, you know, whining in the corner. It might sound a little bit creepy, but I genuinely promise it's not. If you write down the fact that their dog is called Jeff and you reference that again in the future, I bet you they're going to be really pleasantly surprised, because you're taking an interest in the other person. So bring in that personal. It's not stalking unless you're getting phone numbers and addresses, which is clearly the police might get involved. But, you know, bring in that personal, be interested in other people, and I'm sure that will help make the connections and relationships grow.
And so following on from that, I think we touched on it slightly earlier in one of the questions that we had. You know, it's how do we use our BA skills when we're not in an actual bricks and mortar room? So if you think about it, really, those skills we have, they're still the same. We can still use them. It's just we have to change how we use them. So this is back to like why, you know, we say explain to people why video might be important. It's so, you know, we can see how you're doing, we can see if, you know, people are struggling or they're not quite understanding something. You can see who's being more vocal, who isn't. But also, you know, you just have to pay a little bit more attention. It's like, because it's harder, especially with Teams, we use that a lot for our video conferencing. So on your main screen, you can actually only see 4 faces if they don't change who's speaking. So be conscious of that. Think, hang on, I've seen the same 4 faces now for quite a while. Who isn't speaking? Look further down, see who else is in that call, who you may be expected to hear from and are not doing so far. Because some people will react to video calling better than others. Some really, really don't like it and really struggle and feel like they're interrupting if they try and speak and they don't want to speak over somebody else. And when you start, I think there is a lot of that, and there's a lot of people not quite knowing, oh, should I go now? Oh no, someone else is saying something. But I think the more you do it, the more habit building it becomes, and you get used to other people and how they are and when they're going to speak and when you can. But just don't be afraid to do it. But definitely use all those skills that we have. You know, pay attention, look for cues in people, look for, you know, tone of voice a lot of the time, see who's getting irritated, who's not, and try and step in and sort things out that way. And also make sure you have, more so than ever, agendas for things. Make sure you set clear expectation for anybody who's coming to one of your workshops. Anything they need to do beforehand, anything you're expecting of specific individuals within that space, let them know up front so they can come prepared. And we'd always do this anyway, but I think when it becomes virtual, people don't always approach them in the same way. They just quickly throw a quick, you know, video call in and think they'll just talk it through. But you need to still have that rigor and that structure. And it's all about clarity and making sure that people know what's expected of them and how we can all best work together. And I think the best way to start is that being open and honest and leading from the front.
Yeah, very good point there, Tammy. So thinking about how the the situation causes you to adapt to your surroundings, which you naturally, as a BA, if you were to go into different meeting rooms, you go to visit different clients, in a way you're adapting to a different environment in that respect. You know, you might be taking your own laptop but need to get their tech to work with your tech, and all these sorts of things that could cause you challenges. But that's not to say that it's not unsurmountable. You know, adapting to the situation that we're currently in is a big emotional as well as a work adjustment. But things can still continue, and you can change your ways of working to come around with that. So, for example, back at the beginning of this year, we planned to do a learning month within BT, and we had already put out surveys to everybody to say, right, what is it that in digital, what would you like to learn more about, any items you've got interested in, and we'd done all these polls and background and got people to vote, and then we came into the situation where it was like, okay, so clearly face to face being in a room together is off the agenda, so what do we do and how can we adapt to the current situation, which we're going to be doing through things like webinars, sharing things on a workplace tool that we've got as well, and thinking about videos, so not just video calls but actually pre-recorded content. So if you've got a panel expert that you wish to get involved, so for example, one of them, it's about, we've got 3 categories and one was a time for you. So within there's like an exercise category. We originally had it down as being self-defense because we were going to put information about classes in the local area, but now that's turned into a bit of a fitness and get moving. So we've one of our colleagues is actually going to record information, and we're going to put them out as little videos onto Workplace, so that can still happen. In terms of the conferences, so it's coming up to mid-year, perhaps a lot of people have planned to do their mid-year reviews and conferences and getting people together and lifting out that spirit within the organization. So again, something that we're looking at doing remotely. Yes, it puts a lot of responsibility onto the people that are organizing, but it depends on your approach to it, and if you don't try to make it perfect, then I think you're going to be in a good stead for taking things forward and take that pressure off yourself, because we're all trialing and erroring things to take forward. So for example, just this last weekend, I roped my husband into helping me film some making of chocolate truffles so that we can actually do that as still an activity at our digital conference that hopefully will take place next month. So again, it's just adapting what you would do into the virtual world, because things are still possible. Please don't just give up on an idea because you're used to being in a room with someone. There are ways and means to make it still happen.
Yeah, and I think that conference that you're talking about, Kristy, it's not small. We're talking, I think, somewhere between 500 and 600 people attend this conference. So the last one we did at Wembley, which was fantastic. This time's going to be a little bit different, but I'm actually quite excited about seeing how we do that and how we still take that energy and that power that we had within that room when we did the last one and transfer that into the virtual world so that we can still do that and all have that contact with each other, because I think that was really good. And also, we actually have recruited during this lockdown. Is another part of that inspect and adapt. I mean, we were midway through a session of recruitment when the lockdown happened, and we kind of had to take a pause. And also on top of that, obviously being BT, Philip Johnson came out and told the world that he had actually contracted COVID-19 and was down in BT Centre in London, and that's where some of these interviews were due to take place. So even before the official lockdown, we had to look at what we were asking people to do, and decided asking potential employees to come in to a building where they knew there was at least one person affected wasn't really very socially responsible of us. So we did actually trial, and we did them via video calls. It was a little bit different, but we were open and honest with the guys up front. We told them why we were doing that, and I think most of them were actually pretty relieved that they weren't having to get on the tubes in London. and come into that city centre office. So it was strange, but it is possible. We have actually hired people we have never physically met, and we're now onboarding those people. And touch wood, so far, it's kind of going okay. Different, but okay. It doesn't make it bad. Which I think comes on to this last point, which is about address issues early. As we're all separate, and I think Kristy touched on earlier, was, you know, don't put too much pressure on yourself. A lot of our communications now might be through instant message or through emails, or they're written. And when something's written, you don't get the tone of the sender. So it's easy to maybe misconstrue something. Or if somebody says something that rubs you up a little bit the wrong way, normally you might stay behind after a meeting and just have a quick chat and say, hang on, you know, I kind of didn't really like how that went. Can we have a quick chat about it and sort it out? And it's done. It's not as easy to do that virtually, but I think it's more important, because when you're on your own and you're home and you don't have other colleagues to bounce these things off, it's really easy to let these things fester and become something way bigger than they are. And on the other side of that, we'll all have different times through this process where, and we'll already have seen it, you'll have good days and you'll have some where you're not so good. Be honest with the people who are around you and your colleagues to say, do you know what, today's one of those days. I've had a little mini COVID meltdown. There was just a couple of little things that just blew up out of all control. But I've walked away, I've had 5 minutes, I'm back and I'm okay. But I think by letting people know that you're not always okay, they're knowing it's okay for them to sometimes not be okay and come and talk to you. Because we will all suffer that at some point. It's inevitable. Nobody, I think, will get through this unscathed. I hope they do, but I know I haven't. Most days I'm fine, but there are some days where it really is just that little bit harder and I really miss the interaction with people. But then, like I said, maybe by going outside, having 5 minutes, a little bit of sunshine on my face, it does help. And then coming back and talking to somebody about it, that's really helped me. And I think it is important to be honest with people if, you know, a certain day is not one of your better days, because it stops them then getting worried or thinking that you're just being a bit off. They just know it's not a good day.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd add to that of, don't compare yourself to anybody else. Just because somebody else is having a really good day, which is great for them, don't think, oh, I should be having a great day, or I should be doing this. You know, everybody is different and we're all going to be at different stages in that cycle and that roller coaster. That is life, and it's very intense at the moment. So yeah, don't go with the comparisons, go with how you're feeling, and as Tammy says, just reach out and be honest. Honesty is a big thing at this point in time, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying. We've had some great questions through. A couple of comments as well. So Jamil said, like, we're all humans, we all have feelings, which I definitely think obviously needs to be taken into account more than ever. And touching on what you were saying, is definitely communication is key. Ali said she completely agrees with tone on written platforms. It is so hard to sort of, you get very mixed messages from people. Sarcasm definitely.
I think, you know, we all deal with that. Yeah, we all deal with that every day, and we're used to that. But when you're isolated, those things, those tiny things, can become bigger things, and it's
they niggle on you, don't they? And they grow throughout the day. Yeah. And Claire said that Teams will be updating to 9 video screens next month. Woohoo! So everyone who uses Teams, which we may be after the Zoom issues. So some of the questions earlier, quite a few people have been speaking about Miro, which I've actually heard of. What other tools have you used to bring people together? Gordon's asked, what other things are people using other than Miro to collaborate with? So I don't know if anyone who is on the chat has had anything else, can pop any comments into there, anything they'd suggest for people. And I think it goes back to the question we had earlier about sort of communicating better without video, instant chat or screen sharing, and document collaboration tools. They've been having issues documenting walkthroughs, for example. That was from Scott.
Yeah, so Miro is definitely one that we have been using at BT. We'd started just sort of trialling it just before all of this, but it's definitely come into its own and being adopted more throughout all of this. So it's, for those who haven't seen it, it's a great way for mapping user journeys, and for, you can all be on a shared board at the same time. It's a little bit peculiar when you first start and you see all these little cursors moving around on your screen, because it's real time and different people can do different things at the same time. But that has been a great collaborative tool, especially in the BA space when we're talking to product owners, product design, all your developers. You know, everyone can see exactly the same thing at the same time and contribute, which is, I think, the more important thing about that tool. It's not one person and then handing over presenter rights to somebody else. You're all active at the same time, which has been great. One of the other things we've recently trialed using is product board as well, and that's more in the product owner space, but they're using it to map their sort of their epics or their features against their OKRs and KPIs, and it's really helping take the emotion out of prioritization. It becomes far less about what is somebody's want or somebody just really wants us to push ahead with. It has to measure up against all of their OKRs that they've been part of setting. So that's part of our setting up squads, is we do some basic healthcare at the beginning, set all those things up together. So they can't sort of think it's just somebody else trying to make a point. I mean, obviously as BAs, we do that and we try and push back and make sure there's business case. But as OKRs reviewed regularly, it gives you that opportunity to focus on what's right for now. And then in a few months' time, you may revisit those as a squad and think, right, where are we now and what are our priorities now? And sorry, for anybody who doesn't know, OKRs are their objectives with key results. I think it actually came out of Google. So they are very akin to KPIs, but I'm sure any business analyst out there has always struggled with KPIs and making them measurable. So this is a different sort of spin on them, and they work really well. So they're two of the main ones we've been using. I don't know, Kristy, if you can think of any others.
There's the collaboration tools we had in place beforehand, like Confluence, part of the Atlassian suite, that links in with Jira. But in terms of actually getting people together, using a virtual poster noteboard and Miro's, it's definitely a good step forward.
Yeah.
I think things like Slack, the little, instant message, and we use it a lot. I think people are finding inventive ways to use it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Video updates going on, rather than just, sort of, oh, here's a link to a report, or here's some output of this. There's a lot of people doing videos and about more personal as well, which I think touches on what you were saying, Kristy. It's, they're inside their home and they're making videos and saying, well, actually, here's how my week's gone. And this is like from our head of digital has done these, everyone has, and they're actually really good because it's somebody speaking to you as well, rather than just you popping on somewhere and reading something. So they've been good.
Yeah, I'm a big lover of Slack anyway. I'm fed up of internal emails. Tracy's also asked on Miro whether this version can be whether Miro version controlled. Can Miro be version controlled?
So we're quite infinite in our use of it. We've put our own version controlling into it. And if something's, started with something that's quite simple, and then the next iteration round, we build it at the side. So it's taking what's already there and building a new one at the side where you expand and saying that, that's your version 2 or your next iteration. And the good thing about that is you can actually see where you came from rather than just, see them side by side. So for me, that's been really useful. Obviously, from a security point of view and things like that, that's something we're still looking at as an ongoing tool for true version control and knowing who made what amendments where. So if anyone else has any more detail on that, I'd be really interested. Because like I said, we're very much in our infancy of using it, but we're finding it really good for collaboration.
Yeah, I think there'll be some good collaborative tools that come out of this whole ordeal. At the end of it, I think we'll all be sort of working together in a much more digital way, which is, I guess, one positive.
And I think companies will look at their adoption of tools, and it's a very, very painful process to go through. And don't get me wrong, I know it's for the right reasons. We do have to be careful about security and making sure data is protected. And for many other reasons, but sometimes it can just seem a little too long-winded. And when push comes to shove, people have turned some things around pretty quick, and it's been really beneficial.
Definitely. Cool. So I've got a question from Claire. Claire has said, I'm partway through gathering requirements for a project and process mapping the as-is process. Normally, this would involve things like workshops and post-it notes. Do you have any suggestions for hosting sessions like this and collecting this kind of information virtually? So would that go back to like Miro, that you've spoke about already, or is there anything else that you could do or suggest?
Do you want to go with this one, Kristy?
Ooh, yeah, go on then. To be fair, I'd say don't ever forget about the power that's already in your office suite. You know, things like if you're sharing your screen and you're trying to replay back something that someone said to you in their own words, obviously you can do that verbally, but you could also start typing it in and work on it in that particular way. And what I'd say is also make sure you can get different breakout sessions. So when you get gathering your requirements, there's a lot of different views, and when you are sort of in the virtual way of working, and we touched on this earlier, dependent on the types of personalities you've got in that call, if you are seeing the same faces on screen, but yet you've got more attendees in your meeting and you're not quite sure that you've managed to touch on everything from all your attendees and all your stakeholders, by all means, ask while you're on your requirements gathering call, but touch base afterwards with the people that were quieter and just make sure loop back round to them, because it's an iterative process. You're not going to get it all done in one stab. So yeah, do that sort of breakout and come back together again, kind of like as you would possibly in your day-to-day anyway. But in terms of tools, I'd also, like to say, go with what you know for a while, until you get comfortable in that situation. It's a different way of working. And if you're adding in the pressure of a new tool on top of a different way of working, it can, you're adding again to that pressure. So, go for a Word document, PowerPoint, they're all dead easy. You can, share your screen and type on in, and you can put your own, boxes in a flow as you wish. But there's plenty of process mapping tools out there. So again, whichever one you're the most comfortable with, share your screen so people can, like watch you work is a weird way of putting it, but it's a different way of becoming collaborative.
Cool, great. So I think that was all the questions on collaborative working, unless you wanted to add anything then, Tommy.
No, that's fine. I'm good. I think what Kristy has said then, be comfortable in what you're using. Don't try and push something just because someone else thinks it's a good idea. It's always good to try new things, and you should, but don't feel they have to be foisted upon you either if you think you'd be happier doing something another way.
Right.
So we'll move on to the last section for today, and this is just something that I felt quite strongly about over the last few weeks, and it's trying to find the positives in things. Where we are now is a really trying time. There's some very, very difficult things going on all around us. But I'm determined that there are some positive things that can come out of this, and we need to identify them, if nothing else, for my own sanity. It's really helping me. So yes, these are just a few of those that we've come up with, and it'd be really good to hear any others from anyone else that they've come up with.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was the goose that's now decided to nest in York train station. The wildlife is coming to take back over the world in some areas. It's not just about the obviously the economy, and there's lots of things that we are going to be concerned about coming out of this, but again, finding those positives, as Tammy said, there's always a silver lining. I'm ever the optimist. Sometimes I need to balance that out with some reality testing, but if you can find that little nugget, a little bit of silver lining, then it's going to help on the day-to-day, hopefully, and bring some cheer. So yeah, go on the BBC website, find the article about the goose that's going to lay a golden egg in the York train station. And all over the globe, things like the reduction of emissions, places like Singapore, Delhi, they're seeing actual blue sky for the first time ever, in people's lifetimes, because the pollution has been decreased from all those manufacturing processes. But yeah, there's a lot of different things that there won't necessarily, and we were talking about this earlier, be a going back to what happened. It's going to be something different coming out of it. So, you know, we lament the things that we miss at the moment, and I'm sure we'll all be grateful when we can get back into each other's actual physical company. But you know, there are changes in the mindset about working from home. You know, a lot of businesses now, they're being forced to do what they perhaps never wanted to do, you know, and have their employees work from home because there was an element of trust that needed to be addressed, and proof that actually the tools you have do work from home. And again, the digital world that we live in definitely is going to become more prominent. We've noticed that the focus in our work has been, you know, quite full on, certainly at the beginning of the lockdown, and changing of information that's available on websites to do with products and services. Yeah, and those things about how we work with each other and the relationships. It's going to be a new normal, a different normal when we come out of this side.
I think those relationships with colleagues are important as well, because it's, like you said earlier, it's trying to find the way to have that personal as well as the work, and being more open to sharing. And I think that I've seen a lot of that, and I've been really proud of how a lot of our guys have pivoted to responding to COVID-19, whether it's to help customers or whether it's to take some of the pressure off our call centre so less people have to expose themselves and go into work. I think that's been really good. Because obviously as BT, you know, we do support a massive broadband infrastructure, which is keeping half the country going at the minute. So, you know, we take that very seriously and want to make it the best that we can for as many people as we can.
Yeah. There's lots of teams out there that, and lots of businesses that are continuing with their day-to-day work. You know, and all due respect to the key workers and the frontline workers, the work that they do is truly amazing. But hats off to everybody that is actually on a day-to-day basis continuing to do their daily work from home as well, because it's not easy. So yeah, good on you as well.
And again, I think that's where there's some personal positives that come out of this. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but for one, I am not actually missing sitting on the M62 as a car park every morning travelling into the central Leeds. I love driving, but sometimes it's more sitting than driving. And that lack of commuting means we have more free time. We have time to do things, and that's not a bad thing. You know, so I've challenged myself to do a few things. I found I'm spending more time in my garden and actually paying it some attention, seeing as I can't go on holiday. And it's actually starting to look really good. I actually quite enjoy sitting out there now. And picking up, I know a lot of people picking up languages or musical instruments. It doesn't have to be anything earth-shattering, but, you know, use that time. Don't just work till you normally get home. Make sure you only do your normal work hours, and then find something that interests you to do that extra couple of hours in your day. It's good for your mental health, and who knows, you could just come up with something great and share with everybody. One of the other ones is money saving. Personally, I'm waiting for my bank to ring me, and that's why I still got paid it. Whether that's on fuel, or whether that's on like your incidentals, or all those things that I just happen to need when I'm walking through the central catch my eye in a shop or a sale. I don't know if anyone else is finding this. I know you can internet shop, and I've done a little bit of that, but it's not the same. I'm finding I am far better. And not spending some, you know, again, saving that and putting it towards something good. Also goes for holidays. I know there's a lot of issues with holidays being cancelled, and that's awful. I mean, personally, I do have a bit of a holiday bug. I think I went on 11 last year, as Alice will attest to. And yeah, so I haven't got to go on some of those, and there's some I'm still not going to get to go on. But we're making sure that when we get that money back, it's being kept aside. So that when this is done, I am going to have the biggest, best holiday ever and really enjoy it. And I think all the more thankful for it, for not taking them for granted anymore. But also, yeah, it's increased connectivity. And Kristy mentioned it earlier, you know, how many people's like grandparents are now suddenly on WhatsApp or house party apps and Zoom rooms. And, you know, my son is isolating over in York with his girlfriend and their family, and one of them had a birthday over the last weekend, and she's actually in Whitby, so couldn't be with them. So they turned the house into a pub crawl. They named every single room something different, and they had little banners up, and they all moved around, and she had no idea it was happening. And she really loved it. She said, you know, she wasn't really looking forward to her birthday. She was separated from her boyfriend and all her friends. But she said, you know, it was really good fun, and they'd actually arranged for lots of her family members to be on there, lots of her friends, and they all popped up in different pubs in the rooms.
That is so cool.
I know.
And she said, you know, it was really great. So I think it's doing things like that. And for me, that's where, like Kristy said, there is no going back to normal. I don't want to go back to normal. I want to find the positives that we've adapted to in this time and take some of those forwards and make sure we keep doing them and make them better.
Yeah, we've had some great messages from everyone. So I'll just read out as some of the positives, because I really enjoyed reading them. We've had loads come through while she's been talking. So a lot of people have been speaking about the quiz nights and how they're loving getting involved with those. Supporting local businesses, which is something I've been doing quite a lot, because I just love being able to buy cheese and get it delivered to my house. Spending time cooking and eating better, being able to go out for runs. A lot of people have said as well, sort of support, being close with their family and having that time with their children, their loved ones. And I guess it seems slightly forced at first, but you don't get this to happen very often. Appreciating their local area, finding local footpaths. Somebody said not having to drive down the M62 because that's the pain of their life, which I speak to a lot of people that say that. Yeah. Another great thing is how businesses have adapted to allow home working, which I think is something we touched on earlier. And coming from a recruitment point of view, I've come business forward said they've, you know, it's not something they offered, and they've just had to adapt. And it is, like you said, it's going to be the new normal now. That's how things are going to be going. More appreciation for the NHS, still being able to get things done, having time to chat with the team in different situations. I think a lot of teams have grown closer because of all of this. You're not seeing as many people, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Kristy touched on virtual cuppers. We have a thing in the diary for our whole chapter a couple of times a week, and it's if you're free, drop in. If you're not, and it's categorically not to talk about work. It's just whatever's on your mind or anything that you want to share. And I think, you know, good things come out of that. I mean, definitely. I was talking to the chief architect of BT. It's a great one. We'll talk about some real, you know, serious work stuff and doing all of that. And then at the end of it, we stopped and had like a little bit of just a chit chat about, oh, what's going on? I said, oh, just got Disney Plus. Couldn't have timed it better. Baby Yoda. I've got a massive thing for Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
And so then today in the post, this arrived.
Oh, you received a baby yoga from the chief architect of BT.
He's crushed it. A Baby Yoda.
Coronavirus for you.
And it's the cutest apple.
We've had people
for being in the office.
We've had people saying they're enjoying like their lunch breaks because they get to spend a bit of time with their partner. I personally love my lunch break because me and my boyfriend will sit down and make a nice sandwich and we'll watch something rubbish on TV just for an hour and take my mind off of everything, just completely distance myself from work. And I completely agree with that. A lot of people have mentioned as well, sort of the spirit of the team, sort of everyone coming together. I guess not just at work, that you could say that about the whole country. I think everyone has a newfound respect for each other just from this whole situation. We're all going through it together and we're all sort of really in it. Yeah, we've had loads of messages. We have had one last question, which I wanted to finish with. I'm going to throw it at you both. So a lot of advice has been about the current situation. There has been talk of a new normal after the lockdown, where companies might change their ways of working entirely, moving towards a more remote normal. With that in mind, what do Kristy and Tammy think the impact will be on being a BA in general going forward?
That's a really good question.
I know, it's a good question.
I mean, personally, I do think there'll be a big change. I think there will be more respect for working from home or home workers. I mean, we actually have a couple of guys within our chapter who are home workers anyway. Obviously, they do come into the office for certain things, but so we're kind of used to that. But I think I have a whole new appreciation for what those people do every day. You know, I used to get it quite cushy, but now I'm not so sure.
I thought it was like a joy, like a good thing to work from home all the time. I was wrong.
Exactly. But I mean, I don't think businesses will whole scale stop having a bricks and mortar presence. But what I am hoping is that they do have a new appreciation for their staff and to trust them more. I think it's that attitude, that mindset shift to ways of working. And whether that's at home or whether that's somewhere else. I mean, with people who are not even at home, they've gone back to, made the decision to go back and stay with parents or loved ones during the lockdown, and they're working from places they've never have been. And does that really matter? If they'd have asked before, we'd been a bit like, so you want to do what? It's a really strange quest. But you know, for me, I think it is showing that BAs are resilient. We are always up for adapting. We're up for change. We're up for that challenge. And we, you know, things for us, yeah, they've been, you know, sometimes have been a struggle. We've had to find new ways to do things, but we've done them and come out of this really stronger, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think, Kristy.
Yeah, same thing. A lot of resilience certainly being built up, and I'd like to think that when we do come out the other side of things, people maintain that need for a human connection irrespective of where they're working. So I was fortunate enough to have a conversation with Jim Cadle the other day, who was an author of some of the BCS books, and we were, you know, I said thank you very much. I fangirled basically and went, oh wow, you know, The Human Touch, the book that you co-wrote, is actually my favorite business analysis book, because it's all about the human interactions and how to get the best out of your working relationships. And he just burst out laughing, and I thought, oh God, what have I done? And he said, that's the worst selling book in the series. So there's so many, you know, in there you've got the tools and techniques, and you know, you can learn different ways of gathering requirements, different ways of prioritizing your requirements, etc. But I'd like to think coming out of this, people are going to remember that we're all people, and irrespective of where you are in your stakeholder hierarchy, please do say hello and ask people how they're doing. Certainly if you're going to meet them on a regular basis, remember the name of their spouse, their dog, whatever it is that helps you maintain that connection. Let's stay connected, you know, to keep that going, because we're people work with people. So yeah, keep it going.
Great.
So for me, I think I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining. Sorry that we had such a tricky start. Hopefully, you know, if you got something out of it, then I'm really happy.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, and everyone who's joined us. And apologies again about the difficulties at the beginning, but it is a learning curve, obviously. That's our situation. But yeah, thanks for sticking with us. And obviously, thank you so much, Tammy and Kristy, for helping me this evening and putting on such fantastic talk and going through some, I think, really important topics. And thanks to everyone for getting involved in the chat as well. I had some great messages. They were really putting a smile on my face whilst Tammy and Kristy were talking, so it was very hard not to giggle at a few of them. I didn't want them to think I was laughing at them, but yeah, we have recorded this event, so I will be posting it onto my LinkedIn page. It'll go onto like YouTube, but feel free to share it with your network, feel free to share it with your team. I think the more people learn about this stuff, the better. And hopefully everyone's taken away some positives from this evening. So thank you.